The film begins with a young man named Greek and his girlfriend Heza, who are going to the boat marina to take a boat for a cruise. It turns out that they are on a tourist trip to the city and want to rent a boat to dive in the water and see sharks. When they arrive, an old man named Dave meets them and tells them that he is a friend of Tika, the owner of the boat they want to rent. The two are surprised when Dave warns them of such trips, telling them that a young man went on a similar journey before being bitten by a shark and died. Suddenly Tika, the owner of the boat, appears, greets them and asks them if anyone knows that they have come here. And they answer that they have come as tourists on a regular visit to the city and that they will go on this trip without anyone telling them. Then Tika smiles and tells them that's the best he's done. Then he takes them to the boat and takes them to the sea. While sailing, Tika tells them about the shark that bit him when he was young and shows them a big wound to his back. Hessa sympathizes with him and asks him if there is anyone in his life, and he answers her that he has lived alone all his life. After a while, they reach a certain place in the sea, and there Tika throws a bait to attract sharks towards the boat. Greek notices that Heza is nervous and afraid to go down to the water, so Tika continues to try to calm her down and train her to special breathing exercises until she relaxes. After that, he puts them in an iron cage and lowers them into the water, and there a large number of sharks gather around them, which makes Heza feel afraid and tired of breathing. But Greek grabs her hand and reassures her until she calms down and starts enjoying the scene. After a while, they get out of the water and go up to the boat, express their happiness and tell Tika that it is a fun experience. But suddenly Tika takes a dagger out of his pocket and stabs Grek, then throws it into the water. He turns to Heza with a terrifying look and welcomes her on the boat. Heza panics from the horror of what happened and starts screaming. In another place, a girl named Zavi appears out of the supermarket. When she arrives in her car, a young man named Moss approaches her and asks her to help connect the battery of his broken car. Zavi agrees and goes with him, and on the way they get to know each other. We know that Moss works as a real estate broker, while Zafi is a traveler who constantly moves between cities and lives in her car, as she has no home or family. When they get to the car, Zavi discovers that Moss likes surfing like her, and they show mutual admiration. Then they go to Moss's house and spend the night together, and it seems that Moss is happy with her presence, so he prepares food to have dinner together, but he is surprised that she left him and left. As she walks, Zavi notices that the waves are too high and decides to practice the surfing sport she loves, but discovers that she has forgotten the key to the swimming kit box. She looks around and sees a truck parked. She approaches it to look for something to open the box. Suddenly Tika appears in front of her and gives her a key that she can use, then asks her why she came alone. She answers him that she is always alone and no one is accompanied by her. He wishes her to have a good time and then leave her and go. Then she receives a message from Moss asking her where she is, and she answers him that she went to the beach and will go down to the sea. He asks her if he can come with her, so she thinks a little and says that the sea is available to everyone. But suddenly Tika appears from behind her and strangles her until she loses consciousness, then puts adhesive tape on her mouth and carries her to his car and takes her to the boat. The next day, Moss arrives at the place where Zafi was, but he is shocked when he finds her hidden and has no trace. He takes out his phone and calls her, and is surprised to hear her phone ringing in her car. He worries about her a lot and decides to inform the police, but when the officer asks him for her full name or address, he finds nothing to answer, as he only recognized her 12 hours ago. The officer tells him that he cannot register an official report, but he asks him to describe it, and promises to publish its descriptions and search for it. The next day, Zafi wakes up to find herself tied to bed, panicking and starting to scream. You are surprised to see Heza tied up in the bed next door. Then Hessa tells her that they are kidnapped, and explains to her that the owner of the boat is called Tika, and that he is mentally disturbed, and even tells her that he killed her boyfriend in front of her eyes in a horrible way. While they are talking, Zavi tries to find anything that helps her open the restraints, and finds a thin wire that works for that. But her bad luck makes Tika enter them at that moment carrying food and water. They take the water quickly and drink it completely because of the extreme heat, and after he leaves the room, Heza faints. Zavi tries to untie the restraints quickly, but suddenly feels dizzy, and Tika enters to tell her that she will lose consciousness in moments, and reveals that he has put a drug in the water she drank. He sees the wire with Zafi, so he takes it from her and tells her that he loves prey that resists. Before she can respond, she loses consciousness. Soon after, Zafi wakes up to find herself tied to a chair in the deck of the boat. She turns next to her. and sees Hesse tied to the ground as well, while Tika stands behind her holding a camera pointing her towards the sea. He then goes to Hesse and takes a lock of her hair, then turns on the winch to which he tied her and lifts her over the water, full of sharks. He begins to slowly take her down as she screams in horror. Xavi in turn screams and begs him not to take her down, but he ignores her pleas and continues to film the scene as the sharks devour Hesse. Then he directs the camera to Xavi, depicting her fear and crying. After Hesse's death, Tika takes Xavi and locks her back in the room. As he goes to celebrate what he did, drinks and dances in a strange way, then puts a lock of Hesse's hair inside a box with the videotape he filmed. He puts the tape inside a closet full of similar tapes, which shows that there are many victims. The next day, Tika enters Xavi carrying food, but she kicks him with her man and yells at him that he is a sick person. He is not affected by her words at all, and tells her that he is fond of sharks and must feed her constantly, then leave her and leave. At that moment, Xavi pays attention to the bucket in front of her on the ground, so she takes his handle and breaks it to make a sharp object. After a while, Tika returns with an injection full of anesthetic, approaches her while she is asleep to inject her, but she deceives him and stabs him with the bucket tool in his neck. He falls to the ground and his head hits the bed behind him, and he loses consciousness. Xavi moves quickly and takes the key to the restraints from him and unties herself. But when she tries to take the dagger from him, he surprises her that he wakes up and holds her hand. She hits him hard and runs out of the room, but he gets up quickly to stop her before she closes the door on him. She runs towards the ladder to climb to the roof of the boat, catching up with her and being able to inject her with the drug. But she hits him again and runs away, going up until she reaches the cockpit. There she tries to turn on the transmitter to contact the coast guard and ask for help, but she is surprised that the device is disabled. She notices a nearby ship, so she climbs to the top of the cab and screams at the top of her voice, trying to attract attention. The effect of the drug begins to work. Suddenly Tika appears in front of her and approaches her, so she grabs the camera to defend herself. She is then asked to put the camera back in place, but she throws it into the sea and jumps behind it. She keeps swimming with all her strength until she loses consciousness. Tika pulls her with a hook and returns her to the boat again. The next day we see rescue teams looking for Xavi, while Moss is busy thinking about how to find her. Suddenly an idea comes to mind, and he opens an application dedicated to surfers. And we know that this application monitors the movement of the waves on the beaches to help skiers know their high times. Moss notices Xavi's car passing on the road, and then Tika's car passes in the opposite direction. He searched online for the company name written on the Tika car to discover that he rents his vehicle for cruises. Moss calls him to ask if he had seen Xavi last night, but he finds his phone turned off. He decides to go to the marina to meet him in person. At the same time, Tika has returned to the marina nervous, so much so that he ignores Dave when he talks to him, then leaves him to buy a new camera instead of the one Xavi threw. On the other side, Moss reaches the Tika boat and starts knocking on the cockpit door, but no one answers him. He is interested in leaving, but he hears a sound coming from under the surface of the boat. So he puts his ear on the ground and hears a false voice as she tries to untie herself from the restraints. He breaks the glass of the door and tracks the source of the sound until he reaches the room and opens the door, to be surprised by the presence of Xavi in front of him. He removes the adhesive from her mouth, so she tells him that she is kidnapped and asks him to call the police quickly. Moss goes up to the roof of the boat to look for a phone network and calls the police, but suddenly Tika appears and falls him to the ground. Moss tries to defend himself while also trying to make the call, but fails after Tika pulls him away from the phone, then grabs him and quickly ends the call. Then he heads towards Moss to hit him, but Moss surprises him with a strong blow that knocks him to the ground and tries to strangle him. While he is about to kill him, Dave suddenly enters and hits Moss on the head and loses consciousness. Dave hears Xavi's voice screaming, asking for help, and before he understands what's going on, Tika hits him with a hook in the head and kills him. After that, Moss wakes up to find himself tied up in the bed next to Xavi. She asks him if he was able to inform the police, and he apologizes for not catching up, but she thanks him for trying to help her. Tika enters them and numbs them together. When they wake up, they find themselves tied up on the surface of the boat. Tika cuts a strand of Moss's hair and keeps it, then lifts it with a balunch in preparation for him to go down into the sea, where the sharks wait. Moss panics when he sees the sharks under him and screams loudly, but Xavi asks him to completely calm down and not move, so that the sharks don't attack him. Moss adheres to her advice and the sharks pass by him without touching him. Tika gets very angry and stabs him with a knife to make him bleed, and the shark smells blood and attacks him. But suddenly, Tika stops the winch before it is completely taken down. After hearing the sound of a plane approaching, Moss and Zafi pulls and quickly returns them to the room, keeps watching the plane until it moves away. During this, Zafi looks at Moss while he is unconscious and shows signs of sadness and guilt, as she considers herself the reason for what happened to him. She makes a bold decision to break her finger so that she can free her hand from restraints. But when she tries to pull her hand, she doesn't succeed, so she has to bite her finger hard to cut it. At that moment, Tika enters to numb her, but is surprised that her bed is empty. Zafi suddenly appears from behind the door and rushes out of the room to close the door on him. Tika moves quickly and tries to open the window of the room to escape, while Zafi reaches the cockpit and tries to operate the boat to return him to the shore. But Tika manages to get out and cut off the power panel, so the boat stops completely. Zafi feels frustrated and desperate, but her eyes are on a nearby island. She runs quickly and lights a flame to send a distress message, but Tika surprises her from behind, trying to catch her. She hits him with a torch, but it doesn't hit him, so he runs quickly and hides in the kitchen. She hangs her clothes in the window and Tika realizes her, pulls her hard and attacks her, trying to stab her with his dagger, but she hits him hard with the pan and stabs him with a knife in his hand, then jumps into the water and swims towards the island. He takes the boat and goes quickly behind her to catch up with her before she reaches the island, and he can really hold her on the beach and put his hand on her mouth so that no one hears her voice, and prefers to silence herself until he faints on her. After a while, she excels and finds herself related to the winch, but Moss will be in the chair, and it is clear that he is afraid of her, but he has nothing to do. And suddenly a very huge shark appears in the water, so Tika is impressed and tells them that this is the show that he himself has been in for a long time. He goes to the control panel of the winch, and Zafi goes down in the water, so Zafi tries to calm herself and overcomes her fear. As for Tika, he grabs the camera and photographs it. As soon as the shark approaches Zafi, she hits him with her legs and removes him. Tika gets angry and grabs the spear and attacks the shark to provoke him and make him eat Zafi, but the shark grabs the spear from Tika and throws it in the water. Zafi takes the spear and prepares to defend herself if the shark attacks her, but the shark dives and disappears. She takes advantage of the opportunity and hangs the spear in the winch hook, and then climbs the spear to reach the hook and free herself. At this time, Tika photographs her enjoying her torment, but he is shocked when Zafi cuts the rope and falls into the water. Suddenly, she finds herself in the face of the huge shark. She stands stationary, without moving until the shark encroaches her side without attacking her. Then you can look at the boat and see Tika looking for it in the water, and the first thing he discovers that she is standing behind him. She hits him with an arrow in his chest. Tika falls into the water and tries to swim quickly to return to the boat before the shark eats it, but the shark suddenly comes out of the water and grabs Tika and jumps up in a scary scene, and then returns the water again. After the Tika body section is two texts. At the moment, Zafi pictures him as if he was photographing his victims, and then the shark comes and pulls the second text from Tika's body and takes it and walks. But the rope is damaged around a false man and pulls it in the water. So Moss is terrified and prefers to cool her until he faints. Moments later, Zafi came out of the water after she was able to untie herself and found Tika's body in front of her, so she moved away from her and returned to the center quickly. As soon as you reach, you try to surpass Moss, but it is useless. At that time, you see a contagious boat in front of them, so you run quickly in a flame and stand on top of the boat and consult the second boat to come and save them. Fortunately, the captain of the boat sees her and moves her side, so Zafi returns to Moss and tries to surpass him and begs for him to live because she loves him. And here Moss gets up and tells her that he also loves her, and the movie ends. Don't forget to like if you like the video, and subscribe to the channel if you like this type of videos and you want it to continue.